everyone, it's Katie from Paradise Falls family. In this video we'll be continuing our Canada and Alaska series by looking at our road trip and in particular our time in Calgary where our holiday began. We had a lovely time in Calgary and found it to be really family friendly and a great place to start our trip. In this video I'll talk through how we spent our time with some of the things that you can get up to. As a reminder, our road trip began with 3 nights in Calgary, followed by 3 more in Canmore, 2 in Golden, 1 in Kamloops and 1 more in Vancouver before our cruise to Alaska. We flew into Calgary from London Heathrow with Air Canada, who were brilliant and an airline we'd really recommend. We were particularly impressed by their guarantee to sit families together, which meant we didn't have to pay another £200 to reserve seats like we do on some other airlines. The in-flight entertainment was brilliant, with loads of choice that kept us entertained for the whole flight. The staff were lovely too, and we definitely look to fly with Air Canada again when we can. We landed at around noon local time, and were through security really quickly and easily. They have a great system in Canada, and you can pre-register for immigration using the ArriveCan app to pre-submit your arrival declaration. So then you just need to provide your details electronically at one of the dozens of kiosks available. It meant there wasn't a big queue or wait that you can sometimes get on arrival. We picked up our car from Alamo, an intermediate SUV that we always tend to get, and then we were on our way into the city. One thing to note before we talk more about Calgary is some of the things we did to prepare for a road trip in this area of Canada. In recent summers in particular, Canada has struggled with wildfires, and in fact there were some particularly bad fires in Jasper and near Golden before our trip. So this is something we were really conscious of and we wanted to keep safe. We made sure to download a couple of apps, the Alberta Emergency Alert and Alertable apps, both of which notify you of any immediate emergencies or issues both in Alberta and British Columbia. We then also downloaded the Alberta Wildfire and British Columbia Wildfire apps so we could monitor any fires in the area and check if we needed to change our plans at all. Before we made any long journeys, we also checked online to make sure there were no road closures or issues which could affect our drive. This was obviously less of a problem in and around Calgary, but more relevant once we headed towards Canmore and beyond. So driving into Calgary was really easy, only taking around 20 minutes. We were struck by how flat the area was. Given that we were so close to the Rocky Mountains, we were expecting the area to be pretty mountainous, but to be honest it was incredibly flat and you couldn't even really see any mountains in the distance either. Most of Alberta is actually pretty flat and is more cowboy country than mountains. It's only the bottom corner that has some of the Rocky Mountains, a little way outside of Calgary. Heading into the city was really easy. It's a very easy city to drive in and it's relatively quiet. We were staying at the Westin Calgary, which cost around £420 for the 3 nights. We love Westin hotels and this price seemed incredibly reasonable, so it was a no-brainer for us. The hotel has an underground parking garage which you access from behind the hotel. We were able to pull up outside, unload our luggage and get instructions before we parked up. You then turn right and right again to reach the parking lot around the back of the hotel, and there were plenty of spaces. Parking came to around $30 per night, which we thought was very reasonable for city centre parking. Then it was time to check in, get settled in our room and unpack. The room was lovely as we expected. Very clean and modern and very spacious. There were 2 big king beds for us to share, lots of room for luggage, a nice big TV and a lovely bathroom. We were really comfortable here. There was no noise, we felt very safe and it was perfect for our stay in Calgary. The view outside was onto the main street and had a great view of the city lights, but we were some way up so never had any noise issues. Given we'd arrived a little earlier in the day than usual, we still had a bit of energy despite the time difference. Normally we head straight to bed, but we decided to head out to the core shopping mall, which was only a couple of blocks away, to do some shopping and get something to eat in the food court. A lot of downtown Calgary is connected by overhead walkways, so in the winter when it's bitterly cold, you can move around without going outside. This includes the mall, which is very modern, has lots of great shops and a lovely area on the top floors with an indoor garden and play area that the kids enjoyed. We made sure to stop at some of our Canadian favourites, Purdy's for some chocolate treats and Indigo to check for books and souvenirs. We then recharged at the food court, just something simple and cheap after a long travel day. We then headed back to the hotel, doing a long loop along 8th Avenue, which was largely pedestrianised with lots of shops and restaurants and was a very nice part of town. It's nearby to the Calgary Tower, so you get a good view of that from down here, and then it leads down to the Olympic Plaza. This was a little bit more disappointing. It felt a little bit more sketchy in this area compared to the rest of downtown. There wasn't a lot going on, so we looped back to the hotel, spotting the Outlaw Bull statue and the Wonderland Head statue that you might have seen online. The hotel was only 4 blocks north to all of this, so really easy to walk to. Something we did notice is that the hotel seemed to be in more of a business area, so there weren't many shops or dining options open at the weekend immediately around the hotel. You did have to walk just a couple of blocks to find something, unless you ate at the hotel restaurant. This wasn't an issue for us and we would definitely stay here again next time we visit, but it's something to keep in mind. In terms of location for sightseeing, this hotel was perfect, pretty much being equidistant between the mall and centre in the south, and then the Prince's Island Park a few blocks north. For the rest of our time in Calgary, we had 2 full days plus the morning before we left to go to Canmore. There are plenty of things to do in Calgary and the surrounding area, but we had limited time and knew that we had to be selective about what we wanted to do. We decided to allocate one of the days, our second full day, to a day trip to Drumheller, which I'll talk about in next week's vlog. That left 1 and a bit days to enjoy Calgary itself. We decided the main things we wanted to do were the downhill karting on the edge of the city, the Calgary Tower and Prince's Island Park. With Calgary being cowboy country, we also wanted to try out a rodeo. Calgary is of course famous for the Calgary Stampede, which is a massive event that takes place in July. However, there are other local events that run throughout the summer, so we did some Googling and found there was one in nearby Cochrane on our first day in Canada on the Saturday afternoon. So we pre-booked the karting for our first morning and then planned to do the rodeo in the afternoon and fit the remaining bits in the city around this plan. With it being our first day, we were awake ridiculously early with jet lag. Fortunately, the hotel has an indoor pool on the very top floor of the hotel that's open 24 hours a day. This meant we were able to go swimming and watch the sunrise over the city, with the pool largely all to ourselves. The pool is a lovely space with a small gym as well and big windows overlooking the city around you. We all had a great time spending a couple of hours here before grabbing some breakfast in the room and heading up to the park a few blocks north. The park itself is lovely, on a small island in the Bow River. Walking directly from the hotel, there is a bridge crossing to the centre of the park, and then you cross into the peace and quiet with the city skyline behind you. The park is all very walkable, with the River Cafe, a children's playground and lovely grounds to wander. We had a great time here and the kids loved the park, so much so we returned a second time before we left the city. For now though, we wandered back to our hotel, picked up a quick Starbucks snack for the car, which is just off the hotel lobby and was incredibly handy during our stay, and then got on the road to head out to the downhill karting at the Olympic Park. The park is located about 20 minutes from the hotel, just outside of the city. It's a really easy drive and we got there in plenty of time before our 10 AM booking. There was plenty of parking, but the site did get quite busy with it being a Saturday, so it was fairly full by the time we left at lunchtime. The Olympic Park here has various things you can do throughout the year. It's obviously primarily focused on winter sports, where you can ski and luge and you can see the big ski jump nearby. There's also an arena elsewhere on the site which offers ice skating and I think even speed skating on certain days of the week. In the summer though, the slope is turned into a downhill karting track and mountain biking track, and there's also mini golf here too. We were here for the karting, which looked like loads of fun and something we'd all enjoy. There are various different packages you can book, but we went for a package of 12 rides to share between us for 115 Canadian dollars, which compared to similar activities in the UK felt like a bargain. You're allocated an hour slot, but we were here for about an hour and a half, and that wasn't an issue. Other parties do arrive periodically though, so it does get busier as the day goes on. On arrival, you simply check in, you're given helmets and then directed to the ski lift, which whisks you up to the top. These seat 3 at a time, they're open air and really fun to ride with views back to Calgary in the distance. At the top, you then join a queue depending on whether it's your first ride or not, and you're given the necessary instructions on how to operate the go-kart. They're really easy to ride, you just steer and pull backwards or forwards to adjust your speed, so you're in complete control of the kart. You're then free to set off downhill following the track as it slaloms back and forth down the hill. There are barriers, banked corners, the odd obstacle to zoom around, and little hills to enable you to pick up some extra speed. If you want to, you can go really fast, but equally you can slow right down as well if that's more your thing. The track is wide enough for everyone to safely pass well, so it was perfectly fine for the kids to whiz off on their own and really enjoy themselves. At the bottom, there's an area for you to give back your cart and then you rejoin the queue and start over again. It was loads of fun and something we'd really recommend for the whole family. 3 rides each was probably perfect, enough to have some fun without hanging around for too long. Afterwards, there's a restaurant and canteen in the centre to grab some food. The restaurant was closed, but the canteen had sandwiches, burgers and fries etc, and these were excellent value and just what we needed. Next up was the rodeo out in Cochrane, about a 25-minute drive away. We'd planned everything so we'd be on the right side of town, so it wasn't too far from where we were. The drive out was lovely, going past some massive houses on the way out into the countryside with farmland and lovely scenery all around. The rodeo was the Calgary Police Rodeo that takes place annually, and it's a brilliant event for the whole family. Driving into town, it was pretty busy and the parking lot was full, but we were able to park up in town just across the street. It only cost $40 for us all to get in, $20 per adult, and then kids get in for free. It begins early with kids entertainment starting at 11 and the rodeo running from 1 p.m. until around 7 p.m, after which there's an adults only barn dance. There's loads of different events like bareback riding, roping, wild cow milking, barrel racing, shoot dogging, bull riding and our personal favourite, mutton busting, which is where they basically throw kids onto the back of a sheep and then off they go. It was so much fun with loads of snacks and treats on sale to keep you going. The only thing I'd say is there wasn't much shade and it was incredibly hot, so unfortunately we didn't last until the end, leaving at around 5:30 p.m. with the heat and jet lag kicking in. But we'd had a great time, it was something completely different and it was great to enjoy the local culture. So much so we've all agreed we would love to come back for the Calgary Stampede one day. On the way back, we made a reservation on Open Table at the Calgary Tower for dinner. It's an observation deck, but you can go up for free if you visit the revolving restaurant. Given we wanted to go up at some point and we needed some food, it made sense to squeeze it in, even though we were all pretty tired. We parked up back at the hotel and walked the few blocks south to the tower. We didn't have time to change, which was a shame as we'd been out all day, and to be honest, although there isn't a dress code as such, and it was still early, we did feel a tad underdressed, but it wasn't a problem. In terms of the food, this was excellent. It was lovely food and good options for the kids too. It was on the pricier side as you'd expect, and it cost us around $160 for the 4 of us, but it was still really good value with the views and with the UK exchange rate being so good. In terms of the views, these were really cool. Not quite in the same league as some of the other big cities and observation decks, but still worth doing, and it gives you a really good view of the city and surrounding area. By the end of the meal, we were really flagging, with the jet lag hitting us hard, so it was back to the hotel for an early night. The next day we headed out to Drumheller, which I'll talk through in next week's vlog, and then the following day it was time to check out and move on to Canmore. There was just enough time though for another trip to the park. This time we made it all the way to the western end of the park and the Peace Bridge, which was really cool to see. It was a lovely morning and we headed out of the city with a little detour via the Skyline viewpoint, out by the Saddle Dome and the Calgary Stampede venue. This was a great little viewpoint that's worth checking out if you have a car, as it shows you one of the classic shots you'll probably see of Calgary online. It was a really nice way to end our time in this lovely city. Although we hadn't spent long here, we had a fantastic time, and there's still a lot more we didn't get to. In particular, there's the Calgary Zoo, which is supposed to be amazing, the National Music Centre, which looks really fun for music fans, and the TELUS Spark Science Centre. Then if you've got a bit more time, the Callaway Park theme park outside of the city looks a lot of fun too. All in all, there's plenty here for families to fill more than a few days. So hopefully that's given a good overview of Calgary and some of the things you can get up to here. If there's anything we've missed, then just let us know in the comments below. Next week we'll continue the series covering our day in Drumheller, which was a really fun day out. If you like this video, then please do the usual and like and subscribe to the channel to catch the next one too. In the meantime, if you've got any questions or any other tips, then please let us know in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching.